back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final.
Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Wednesday, May 22nd. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is GSMCpodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is GSMCpodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So with that being said, let's get into what we are going to talk about for today. So we're going to start off the show. We're going to do my final rankings, my final divisional rankings. It'll be the AFC West this time to cap it off. So I'll get into that, rank each team, give my thoughts on what kind of seasons these teams could have, and that will be the first part of the show. Then from segments 2 through 4, we will go through the Sunday night, Thursday night, and Monday night matchups on the schedule. I'll talk about some of the better matchups, some of the intriguing matchups from each platform with NBC, Amazon Prime, and of course ESPN as well. So that'll be segments 2 through 4. So we'll start off with the Sunday night matchups, then the third part of the show we'll do Thursday night, and then the fourth part of the show we will do the Monday night matchups. And then in the final part of the show, this is something that I'm going to try to do each show for the foreseeable future, and that's go through each team's individual schedules and talk about some of their matchups, well, really all their matchups, and kind of give my early win-loss prediction with each team. So today we'll be doing the Eagles. So we're going to start off with the NFC East, and then we'll progress through each division. And yeah, that's what we will be doing for the foreseeable future. So with that being said, because there's a lot of teams, with that being said, let's get into the first topic, which is talking about the AFC West. So I pretty much have a graphic for every segment here. So we're going to start off with the AFC West rankings. And here we go. You got the 4 teams right here. The Broncos, the Raiders, the Chargers, and the Chiefs. So we're going to start off with the number 4 spot. And that is going to be the Denver Broncos. Now, the Broncos, they were a team that they were kind of up and down last season. They started off, I believe, 1-5. And they looked like they were going to finish with one of the worst records in the NFL. And, you know, you had Sean Payton talking about Nathaniel Hackett and saying how he was responsible for one of the worst coaching jobs ever. And it looked like Sean Payton was on the way to kind of match that and even eclipse that. But that ended up not being the case because the Broncos got hot. And at one point it looked like, hey, maybe they can make a run at the playoffs and sneak in. But they ended up finishing the season 7-10, I believe. And they missed out on the playoffs. And Russell Wilson didn't even finish the season. Jarrett Stidham started the last couple games. He did win one game, and that was against the Chargers. But then they lost against the Raiders the final week of the regular season. And that was it. Actually, no, they did finish 8-9. So, I mean, they were 1-5 to start the year. I mean, to finish 8-9, got to give them credit there. Some credit. But, yeah, this is a new era now. Russell Wilson is no longer there, even though they're still paying most of his contract. They drafted Bo Nix, so he's looked upon as the franchise guy moving forward. The Broncos did get rid of Jerry Jeudy, trading him to the Browns. You still got Cortland Sutton there for the time being. You got a couple of young running backs, Javonte Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin. I think they also drafted another running back, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong. But, and then you still have the defense as well with Patrick Surtain. And, for me, I'm not really expecting much out of the Broncos this year. I think they're trying to begin their new era post-Russell Wilson. Because Sean Payton didn't want Russell Wilson. And he tried to make it work. And, at times it looked like it was going to, but yeah, it didn't pan out. And now they're going in a different direction. Like I said, they drafted Bo Nix. They also got Zach Wilson, and you still got Jarrett Stidham there. So that's your quarterback room. And we'll see. I guess Bo Nix, he could be starting week 1, or they could opt to start Jarrett Stidham. But I guess it really all depends on how they do in OTAs and training camp and, of course, preseason. But I think it could be Bo Nix, it could be Jarrett Stidham. Maybe Zach Wilson, he impresses and they say, you know what, we're going to start him. But I don't see that. I think it's either going to be Stidham or Bo Nix in week 1. But I could be wrong. So, but yeah, I'm not really expecting a lot out of the Broncos this year. I think they're going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. So I got them at 4. Then at 3, it's tough. I think it's kind of a toss-up between the Raiders and the Chargers, but I'm going to put the Raiders at 3. This is going to be the first full season with Antonio Pierce as the head coach. The Raiders, they played well when he took over. I mean, the Raiders looked like they were going to finish with one of the worst records in the NFL as well. But, Antonio Pierce stepped in, and they looked like a better team. And, I mean, they put up 60 points against the Chargers on Thursday Night Football. They really like to play for they really like playing for this guy. And, as a Giant fan, I'm happy that, he was given the full-time job. And you had players like Max Crosby and Devontae Adams speaking out and saying, hey, we're not staying if he isn't named the head coach. I mean, Max Crosby supposedly was going to request a trade if they didn't make him the full-time head coach. But they ended up doing that. And, going into the season, you're going to have Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell battling it out for the starting quarterback job. And the Raiders, as a team, I mean, I like the playmakers they have on offense. I mean, they drafted Brock Bowers to go along with Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker. Going into his second year, was making plays for them last year. They also signed Michael Gallup as well. And it looks like, I mean, they signed Alexander Madison, but, I think Zamir White's going to be the lead back. And he showed you that, he can handle a heavy workload, when Josh Jacobs was out. So I think, the Raiders, they could finish around the same record as last year, 8-9, 9-8. I could see that. I think the defense, it showed you something last year. I mean, they went into Arrowhead and they really, gave the Chiefs a hard time and beat them. And, they also added Christian Wilkins to that defensive line to go along with Max Crosby. So I like the direction the Raiders are heading in. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but I think they could be a team that hangs around 500. Gardner Minshew did a nice job filling in for Anthony Richardson last year. And like I said, I like the playmakers on offense. So I think the Raiders, they could be a scrappy team. They could give you a hard time. They might lose some close games. I think they'll hang around 500. But, yeah, I got them at 3. And then at 2, I got the Chargers. And it's a new era with the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh's back in the NFL. And I think the Chargers, they could be a team that could sneak in as a wild card. I'm curious to see how it's going to go on offense because, it's a new-look offense. You got a bunch of young receivers. You got Justin Herbert. You got a completely different backfield. You got the Ravens' backfield, basically, with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. So, I think with Jim Harbaugh there, the defense is going to be better. And they tried to keep their veteran guys on that side of the ball with Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. So they were able to keep those guys. And look, I still think Justin Herbert, if he's right, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I think he's top 5. So I think the Chargers will be an improved team. I mean, they're definitely going to win, I think, more games than they did last year. But yeah, I'm curious to see how they're going to do with all their young receivers. They drafted McConkey out of Georgia. You have Joshua Palmer. They're expecting, recently I saw a headline that they're expecting big things out of Quinn Johnston. They also drafted Jerry Rice's son as well. So I mean, we'll see how it goes on offense. But I think Justin Herbert's coming back. I know he missed some time last year towards the end because I think, what was it? He broke his thumb. It was thumb injury, I believe. So I expect Herbert to have a good year. But it's going to be, I think it's going to be an adjustment because, there's no more Keenan Allen, there's no more Mike Williams, there's no more Austin Eckler. So yeah, it might take some time to gel with the young receivers that he has at his disposal now, but I think he'll be fine. And I think they have the right guy as their head coach because, wherever he's gone, he's changed the culture. I mean, the 49ers and with Michigan, I know they didn't win a Super Bowl when he was the head coach of the 49ers, but they got there, and they also made it to some NFC championship games as well. So, I mean, I'm not expecting that in year 1, but we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I got them at 2. And then, of course, at 1, I got the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, what else is there to say? The Chiefs, coming off of back-to-back Super Bowl championships, pretty much everybody is back. They traded L'Jarius Sneed, but other than that, pretty much everyone is back. And I expect them to be penciled in to be at least in the championship game in 2024. And they're looking to three-peat, something that no NFL team has ever done. But I mean, they drafted Xavier Worthy, they signed Marquise Brown, and Rashid Rice is practicing, so we'll see. Well, actually, I think he did end up getting suspended, if I'm not mistaken, because I haven't really talked about the Rashid Rice situation, but I think he did. If I'm not mistaken, he did end up getting suspended, but not for the whole year. But either way, I mean, they improved their receiving core. You still got Travis Kelce, you got Isaiah Pacheco coming out of the backfield, and of course Patrick Mahomes. And the big thing this offseason was they did give Chris Jones a lot of money, so the Chiefs are ready to roll. And I think they're gonna win this division pretty easily, but we'll see. So, yeah, that's my rankings. You got the Broncos at 4, the Raiders at 3, the Chargers at 2, and the Chiefs at 1. And we do have a comment, and it's from Little... so it's from Lil Fet... I can't even pronounce it. I hope the Chiefs don't make... But they basically said, I hope the Chiefs don't make the playoffs. I'm so tired. He said, I'm so tired of them. Meant to say tired, but... yeah, I mean, listen, you're going to see them a lot, and that's going to continue. I mean, unless an injury happens, the Chiefs they're not going anywhere. They're here to stay. They're the new Patriots, unfortunately. So, yeah, that's my rankings for the AFC West. So, we're going to take our first break, and then when we come back, we are going to talk about the Sunday night matchups for the upcoming season. So I'll break them down, talk about some of the more intriguing matchups on the schedule there, and that's what we will do when we come back from our first break. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I wanna wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows with 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh,
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are going to break down the Sunday Night Football matchups for this upcoming season. So let's get right into that. So we're going to switch around the segments and graphics here. So, yeah, this is... so let's get into that first. Hold on one second. I don't want to spoil what I have, because I was making sure that, okay. All right, yeah, so here we go. Perfect. So these are the Sunday night matchups. Now, I do want to say that I tried to fit every single matchup on each slide that I have, actually, because I put the remaining segments in a slideshow here. So, yeah. So, if you'll notice in the third column, yeah, it's going to, the matchups are going to get smaller and smaller because I was trying to fit them on the entire page. But this is the Sunday Night Football slate. And there are a decent amount of intriguing matchups. Starting off with Week 1, you have Matthew Stafford returning to Detroit to take on the Lions. Now, these two teams did meet in the playoffs, and the Lions did win that game 24-23, I believe the score was. It was one of the best games of the playoffs. And now Stafford's going to return there in the regular season, and it should be a fun game. And the Lions, fresh off of, winning their first division title in 30-plus years. And you got the Rams, who are going to be without Aaron Donald. But, they still have a ton of playmakers on offense. You got Matthew Stafford, of course. And I think the Rams are going to be a good team this year, despite Aaron Donald retiring. But I'm curious to see how the defensive side of the ball is going to be with him not being there. So that's the first game. That's one of the games that I'm excited for, and that's, we get that right off the bat in Week 1. Then in Week 2, you got two young quarterbacks going at it. You got Caleb Williams and C.J. Stroud. And these could be two very high-powered offenses this upcoming season. The Texans, I'm expecting big things out of them with C.J. Stroud in year 2. And, of course, they added Stephon Diggs this offseason. So I'm looking forward to watching them. And, of course, the Bears, too. Now they got their rookie quarterback with Caleb Williams, and they're expecting big things out of him. And I'm expecting this team to be in the mix to make the playoffs because of all the moves they've made, besides drafting Caleb Williams. Now they got Keenan Allen. They signed DeAndre Swift. The defense played better towards the end of last year. So this could be a fun matchup. So I'm looking forward to that as well. And then you got in Week 3, you got the Chiefs at the Falcons. This is an interesting matchup. The Falcons obviously now have Kirk Cousins at quarterback. We're going to see the Chiefs on primetime a lot, of course. They're one of the teams I think that they have the most primetime games this year, besides, I think, the Cowboys and the Jets. Unless I'm getting them mixed up and it's the 49ers. It was a red team. It was one of the two. But, yeah, this could be a fun matchup. The Falcons with Kirk Cousins, the offense is going to put up points. And then, of course, you have the Kansas City Chiefs, which, in the comments, they're tired of the Chiefs. Well, like I said, you're going to be seeing a lot of the Chiefs. So that's Week 3. Then in Week 4, Bills and the Ravens. So they didn't play each other last year, but these are two teams that have matched up, a decent amount. Not last year, though. But, you got Josh Allen, and then, of course, you have Lamar Jackson, two of, some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. You got the reigning MVP. You're going to have Derrick Henry, of course, in this game. And, the Bills, we'll see now with this new receiving core. I think this could be a fun matchup as well. Then in week 5, I mean, you got two historic franchises, the Cowboys and the Steelers. Russell Wilson now is the starting quarterback of the Steelers. I mean, we'll see if maybe they go to Justin Fields by this point, which, I mean, I'm just saying that. But, yeah, again, another fun game. I mean, I think for the most part it's always competitive when these two teams match up against each other. So, that's another fun one. But then we get to week 6. And this one's a little bit of a head-scratcher for me, in my opinion. And that's the Giants and the Bengals. I don't know why this is a Sunday night matchup. I don't think the Giants are going to be very good. I mean, I talked about their defensive line yesterday and how that's something to look forward to, but I just don't think the Giants are going to be that good. I mean, you got the Bengals and Joe Burrow in that offense. They're fun to watch. But this game should be like a 1 o'clock game. Eastern time, in my opinion. This should not be a Sunday night game, but I think this is probably the worst one of the slate. But yeah, so that's week 6. Week 7, hopefully Aaron Rodgers is still playing by then, but you got the Jets and the Steelers. If Aaron Rodgers is playing in this game, I mean, this could be a fun one. You got two good defenses going at it, so that could be a good game. And then week 8. I mean, you got two teams that have matched up a lot over the last couple of years between the playoffs and the regular season, and that's the Cowboys and the 49ers. Now, last year, they only played during the regular season, and the 49ers wiped the floor with the Cowboys. And to be honest, I kind of expect more of the same, but we'll see. But, yeah, again, two historic franchises going at it. So that's week 8. Week 9, an interesting one, the Jaguars and the Eagles. They played each other a couple years ago. The Jags are looking to bounce back from, the collapse last year, and you got both teams had late season collapses. So, we'll see how it goes. But, yeah, this was an interesting one. Week 10, another one that I really like, the Lions and the Texans. Two high-powered offenses going at it. Could be a Super Bowl preview. Who knows? I'm looking forward to that game. Week 11, you got Anthony Richardson hopefully playing. Both quarterbacks, I mean, coming off of season-ending injuries, so hopefully they're both playing at this point. This could be a fun one between Anthony Richardson and Aaron Rodgers. So, we'll see what happens. Week 12, these two teams met during the regular season last year. The Eagles won that. Eagles at the Rams could be another fun one as well. Then you got the game on Thanksgiving, the late game, and that is the Dolphins at the Packers. That could be a fun one as well, although the Dolphins will be playing in cold weather. But, you got two young quarterbacks in Tua Tagovailoa and Jordan Love. So, that could be a good game. That's a good way to end off Thanksgiving. And then you got the Sunday night game that week, the 49ers at the Bills. That could be a fun one as well. And then week 14, I mean, it's always fun when Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes play against each other. And this could be another one here on Sunday night. And then in week 15, these are two teams that, I mean, they haven't played each other recently, but, now it's Jordan Love against, we'll see if it's Geno Smith or if it's Sam Howell. But, obviously they go back to, of course, they got the Fail Mary and then, the 2014-2015 NFC Championship game. And this game is in Seattle. So that could be a fun one as well. Week 16. Now, this game's going to be played on the Saturday because then these two teams will be playing each other on Christmas the following Wednesday. The Chiefs will be playing the Steelers and the Texans will be playing the Ravens. And so the Steelers and Ravens will be playing each other the same day. But, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this matchup as well. Two high-powered offenses. C.J. Stroud gets his first crack at Patrick Mahomes. This could be maybe one of possibly multiple matchups between these two quarterbacks if they match up in the playoffs. So, yeah, looking forward to that. It should be a good game. And then week 16, you got the Buccaneers and the Cowboys. The Buccaneers, the NFC South champs. We'll see where they are at this point in the season. And then the Cowboys, again, I expect them to be a playoff team. Some people are low on the Cowboys. And I know they didn't really make that many moves this offseason, and they did lose some people. But I still think this team's going to be a playoff team. But, yeah, we'll see. we'll see where these two teams are at this point. Maybe this is a game that could get flexed out. Who knows? And then week 17, you got the Browns and the Dolphins. And we'll see what kind of season Deshaun Watson's having at this point. Week 18, we don't know what the matchup is because, they're going to, flex into a game. But, yeah, it's going to be the Browns are hoping for a big year out of Deshaun Watson, and, the Dolphins are hoping for a big year out of Tua. So we'll see what happens where these two teams are at. This could have major playoff implications, this game right here, because I expect these teams to be in the mix for the wild card. So I know I said the Dolphins I had them ranked third in my divisional rankings for the AFC East, but I still think they're going to be a team that's going to be in the mix for the playoffs. But yeah, so those are the Sunday night matchups. So before we go to our next break, I just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link, that is GSMCPodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is GSMCPodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So when we come back from our second break of the show, we will then talk about the Thursday night matchups. So I'll break down those games, and that is what we will do when we come back from our second break of the show. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we are now going to break down the Thursday night football matchups for the 2024 season. So let's get right into that. And again, just want to make sure that I pull up the right slide here and switch around the segments. So, actually, I'll be honest, the Thursday night matchups aren't that bad because I know, when it comes to Thursday, that's Monday night, sorry. Yeah, so I know when it comes to Thursday night football, the matchups are kind of, a little lackluster at times, but I feel like some of these games actually are pretty intriguing. So, yeah, let's go through them. So, the first matchup, now obviously, I kind of, I talked about the Ravens and the Chiefs. That's an NBC game, but I already, talked about the Week 1 slate when I had Emron and Manny on. So, so let's go through the remaining. Now, but those, like I said, that's on NBC. These games are on Amazon Prime. So, Week 2, big divisional game right off the bat. You got the Bills and the Dolphins. Now, these are two teams that finished off the 2023 regular season. The Bills winning that game ended up winning the AFC East. And, this could be a big game right off the bat. We're going to see the Bills and their, new receiving core now without Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. And the Dolphins, look, they're trying to beat the Bills this year because they got swept by them last year. So, good matchup to get us started. Then in Week 3, again, another AFC East matchup, and that is the Patriots at the Jets. So I like the Jets' beginning of the schedule outside of, opening up against the 49ers because they have the Patriots. I think they also have the Titans as well and the Broncos. So they got some winnable games to start off the year. And this game, I think the Jets should win. Now, they did win against the Patriots, final game of the regular season, in the snow. And with Aaron Rodgers, I mean, I think they should win this game. You know, the Patriots are going to have a young quarterback starting. It's a new era there. The Jets should, get it done in this game. Then in week 4, not looking forward to this game. Cowboys at the Giants. I mean, look, this could be the game where the Giants wear those uniforms that many people just are not fans of. We'll see. I mean, I don't know when. I don't think it was announced when they're going to be wearing those uniforms, but I kind of expect the Cowboys to win at this point. And, the last time that these two teams met at MetLife Stadium, 40-0 happened. So hopefully that doesn't happen here. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. Then week 5, a big NFC South matchup. You got the defending NFC South champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the new look Falcons with Kirk Cousins. Could be a good game. Week 6, another divisional matchup. 49ers at the Seahawks. They played each other on Thanksgiving in Seattle last year. So you got that. Week 7, I think that's one of the more intriguing matchups just because it's Sean Payton making his return to New Orleans to take on the Saints. And, we'll see where the Saints are at that point. I mean, we'll see where both teams are at that point. I mean, they got Derek Carr. They brought him there for a reason. And, he finished the year strong. And, the Saints are kind of hoping that he could have a better year in 2024. And the Saints could be more consistent and maybe, find themselves back in the playoffs. And for the Broncos, I mean, they're in rebuild mode. And we'll see, how the quarterback position is for them when they get to week 7, if Bo Nix is starting. But yeah, so that's week 7 matchup. But yeah, I mean, what's intriguing about that is, of course, Sean Payton making his return to New Orleans. And we'll see how he's received when he makes his return there. Then week 8, this could be a good game. You got star receivers all over the place. On one side, you got Justin Jefferson and, of course, Jordan Addison coming off of a solid rookie season. And then for the Rams, you got Cooper Kupp and, of course, Puka Nacua, who's a rising star. And it'll be interesting to see, if it's still Sam Darnold or has J.J. McCarthy taken over. I mean, who knows if J.J. McCarthy is going to start week 1. But we'll find out. But, yeah, that could be an interesting game. Week 9, it's C.J. Stroud going up against Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. That could be a good game. I know Zach Wilson played arguably his best game as a pro against the Texans last year. The Jets, they won, I think it was 31-6. I mean, that was in sloppy conditions, but still, you got to give them credit for winning that game. I know the Texans, they were missing some guys on offense, but yeah, I mean, we'll see what kind of game this brings us this year, but I'm looking forward to that. If, both teams are healthy, this is an intriguing game. Then you have a AFC North matchup the following week, the Bengals at the Ravens, and I believe it's pretty much, I think it's the same week as the matchup they had last year when Joe Burrow got hurt. So, I mean, look, if both quarterbacks are healthy for this game, I mean, should be a good one. Should be a fun one. And then week 11, you got the Commanders at the Eagles. Now, the Commanders played the Eagles tough last year. Now they got Jaden Daniels, and we'll see how he is at this point during the year. But the Commanders, they have been a team that's given the Eagles a hard time. I know the Eagles swept them last year, but still. They play the Eagles tough. So we'll see what happens in week 11. Then you got another AFC North matchup between the Steelers and the Browns. So, I mean, maybe Justin Fields is starting at that point. I know I've said that twice already. Well, now I've said it twice. But, and we'll see the Browns. Does Deshaun Watson make it all the way to week 12? But this could be a big game at this point in the season. Then week 13, this is actually the Black Friday game. This is the Raiders and the Chiefs, and they, of course, played each other on Christmas last year, and the Raiders won that game. So, we'll see what this matchup brings. Then in week 14, you got the Packers and the Lions. They played each other in Detroit on Thanksgiving last year. The Packers won that game. This could be a fun one as well. And then week 15, you got the Rams and the 49ers. A divisional game. Two solid offenses going at it. High-powered offenses. I know the 49ers defense has given the Rams offense problems in recent years, but, The Rams did beat them in the NFC Championship game. But still, I mean, during the regular season, the 49ers have kind of owned the Rams. So, but it could be a fun matchup. Week 16, another AFC North matchup, the Browns and the Bengals. The Browns have given Joe Burrow problems, but this game is in Cincinnati. So, we'll see what that matchup brings. And then Week 17, you got the Seahawks and the Bears going at it. So, that'll be the final Thursday night game there. So, like I said, I mean, some good games here. A lot of divisional games. Like I said, one of the more intriguing matchups is, of course, Sean Payton going up against his former team, coaching against his former team. But I think this slate is pretty good for the most part. I wish the Giants were not playing, but, it is what it is. Everybody's going to... I mean, well, actually, the Panthers have no primetime games. I wish the Giants had no primetime games. But we got another comment. My Seahawks have 2 Sunday night games. I mean, listen, I know I was listening to I was watching the Michael Kay show, and they were talking about the Seahawks, and, they were kind of just saying, well, at least, I think Michael Kay was at least saying, well, there's no more Pete Carroll, so they're probably not going to be, Mike McDonald's a new coach, and he's going to have to adjust, but I think the Seahawks still have a good roster. All right, so now, since you're a Seahawks fan, who do you think should be the starter? Should it be Geno Smith or should it be Sam Howell? Because I've been saying that I think that Sam Howell could really push Geno Smith for that starting job. And I think Sam Howell could be the better option. But again, that's just me. But yeah, I still think this team's going to be good. And they could be a team that, could fight for a wild card spot, in my opinion. Who knows? But I think just because Pete Carroll left, I don't think that means this team is going to completely fall apart and not be good. I think this team could still be, win a decent amount of games, finish around 500. But we'll have to see. What are your thoughts on that Cowboys schedule release video? I have not seen that, so I'll have to check that out when I wrap up here. All right, so we are going to take our next break of the show. When we come back, we will discuss the Monday night matchups. We'll talk about them, and I'll give you my thoughts on them. So make sure to stick around, and we will return shortly after this break. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we are now going to break down the Monday night matchups and talk about them. So let's get into those now. I know I had them up, so here we go. The Monday night matchups. Again, some good matchups on the schedule. And like I said, to Lil Fettuccine 68. Okay, and for some reason, I listen, I'm bad at pronouncing things, and I wasn't going to attempt it and completely, mispronounce it. But, yeah, so he said, right before the end of the break, or we got into the break, he said, what are your thoughts on that Cowboys schedule release video? Like I said, I'm going to watch it when I wrap up here, but I did not see it. So, but yeah, we got the Monday night schedule here, and like I said, I really had to squeeze in all the matchups here because they have a lot of doubleheaders. Yeah, that's why, towards the bottom there. And one of the matchups is the 49ers and the Lions, the rematch of the championship game. So, and it's, really had to fit every single matchup in there because there's a lot of them because of the doubleheaders. So, Little Fettuccine 68 says, I'm a Seahawks fan, but I don't follow like that, to be honest. I feel like Geno is only going to start because he got paid. Okay. That's a good point. but we'll see. And I think that, like, for me, Sam Howell, like, was playing well in the beginning of the season for the Commanders, and then everything kind of fell apart. Now he's in a better place, so, we'll see if he gets an opportunity. But I just thought that was something interesting to bring up. All right, so right off the bat, Week 1, Jets 49ers. Aaron Rodgers makes his return against a team that's given him problems in the playoffs. And on that side of the ball, the 49ers now have Leonard Floyd, and he is the guy that tackled Aaron Rodgers, and that's what led to him. Now, I'm not saying that Leonard Floyd is the reason why Aaron Rodgers, I don't want to pin the injury solely on Leonard Floyd, but because Rodgers tried to break the tackle, and he landed awkwardly, and that's kind of what led to his Achilles injury. But Leonard Floyd is now a part of the 49ers, so that does make me nervous. And just in general, I mean, the 49ers have arguably the best defensive line in football. And but you know what? If Rodgers is able to play the full game, I mean, this could be a good game. You got two good defenses going at it. So, yeah, I mean, this is a good matchup to get us started. I know some Jet fans aren't happy about it. But, if Rodgers is healthy and plays the whole game, it should be a good one. Week 2, then, you got Kirk Cousins at the Eagles. And, like I said with the Eagles, and we'll talk about them in the next segment, but they are a team that, they're looking to turn the page on their collapse from last year. I mean, you're going to have Saquon Barkley now in the fold. And actually, Devontae Parker, who they signed to kind of be that third receiver, he actually retired, which I thought was interesting. But, yeah, wish him nothing but the best. But, yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. Yeah, I mean, this could be a fun one. I know Kirk Cousins with the Vikings last year. This was it ended up being a close game. The Eagles were blowing them out, but the Vikings were slowly but surely trying to get back into the game, and they almost came back. But now Kirk Cousins is a member of the Falcons, and the Eagles are hoping that their defense is much improved from last year because that was a weakness of the team. So, but yeah, that's Week 2. Week 3, these two teams played in London last year, the Jaguars and the Bills. Now this game is going to be in Orchard Park. Could be a good one. Actually, this is the first week of the doubleheaders. And I think, so this matchup, Bills and the Jaguars, I think this game's being played on ESPN, and then the other one's played on ABC. On ABC. Because there's some of these where one of them is going to be like an ESPN Plus exclusive, and the other one's going to be on ESPN. So, I'm not really a fan of the doubleheaders. Now, they used to have, they'd have two games on Week 1, where you'd have the one game at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, and then you have the one at 10:15 or whatever it is to follow that, Eastern Time. Now, they just like having two games being played at the same time. And to be honest, I'm not a fan of it. I want to be able to focus on one game. But then again, you could say, well, Sunday, you got all these games going on at the same time. Yeah, I understand that. But these are standalone games now. Sunday's one thing. Now when you're doing it on Monday, I don't know. For me, I'm not really a fan of it, but that they like doing that. And they're going to do it several times throughout the season. And that's why it was very annoying when I was trying to fit all these matchups on one graphic, because there's, several weeks where there are multiple games being played. So, yeah, that's Week 3. Then Week 4, you got two games. One game was played on Monday night last year. That was the Titans and the Dolphins. Titans had that epic comeback. So we'll see if the Dolphins can, get revenge on them. Titans obviously, in my opinion, got better on offense. But, for the Dolphins, you're hoping Tyreek Hill plays the whole game. Because Tyreek Hill also got hurt in that game last year. And then you got two teams that, there are always points scored when these two teams play against each other lately, these last 2 years, and now they'll be matching up again, and that's the Seahawks and the Lions. Looking forward to this game. This game, a lot of points are going to be scored, you would imagine, because that's really how the last two matchups have been. Then Week 5, you got Derek Carr taking on a former division rival in the Chiefs. So that's Week 5. Week 6, Bills at the Jets, and it's on Monday night, and the last time these two teams met on Monday night, that was when Aaron Rodgers unfortunately got hurt. So hopefully, by this point, Aaron Rodgers is having a good year, and, he takes on the Bills. So Lou Fettuccine asks, which game on week 4 is on ESPN Plus and why? I mean, I can't give you a specific reason why. I think it's just, again, the NFL wants to, air multiple games at the same time. And I believe it's the Lions and... Oh, actually, no, it's not on ESPN. Okay. So we're still doing ESPN and ABC. So the Titans and the Dolphins, that one's on ESPN. And the Seahawks-Lions game, that's on ABC. And then actually, that'll start at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time. The other game starts at 7:30. And it's the same thing with the previous week. So 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, you got the Jaguars and the Bills. And then 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC, you got the Commanders and the Bengals. So then, I went through the next two. Then week 7, that's when you have the ESPN Plus game. Again, I don't know why they're doing this, but, actually an interesting start time. They actually have, so in week 7, so you have the Buccaneers and the Ravens, and that'll be 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. Then the Chargers and the Cardinals, they'll be playing each other on ESPN Plus. That'll start at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So that's interesting, a 9 p.m. start. But, yeah, so that'll be on ESPN Plus. Again, I can't really tell you the reason why they're doing that, but, it's just, I guess just to, promote their streaming service. But, yeah, that's week 7. Then week 8, you got the Giants and the Steelers. So you got my mom's team going up against my dad's team. And the last time these two teams met, that was back during the COVID season. And the Steelers won that game. That was at MetLife, empty stadium. Man, that seemed like that was yesterday. But thankfully, we, knock on wood, we don't ever have to see that again. But, yeah, that's week 8. Then you got a rematch from the COVID Super Bowl, and that's the Buccaneers and the Chiefs. But, Tom Brady is not there. It's now Baker Mayfield. And we'll see where the Buccaneers are at that point. But, yeah, that'll be a tough game for the Bucs. Then in week 10, interesting game, two high-powered offenses, the Dolphins and the Rams. That one should be fun. Then you got the Battle of Texas, the Texans and the Cowboys. That could be a fun one. Then you got the Harbaugh Bowl. The Ravens and the Chargers. That could be fun. The Broncos and the Browns in week 13. Then in week 14, this could be a fun one. Bengals at the Cowboys. Week 15, NFC North matchup between the Bears and the Vikings. You can see Caleb Williams against J.J. McCarthy in this game. Week 15, Falcons and the Raiders. And then to finish it off, I mean, we don't have the Week 18 matchups because I know there's that doubleheader that's on ESPN, so we don't have that on here because we got to wait till the end of the year for that. But, yeah, Falcons and the Raiders, and then you have the Saints and the Packers. They met earlier in the season last year. Packers were losing 17-0, and they came back and won that game. And then you have the NFC Championship game rematch between the Lions and the 49ers, which, I tried to squeeze on there. But yeah, that's one of the better games. It's just too bad that, like I said, I was really trying to, fit them all in. But yeah, that's one of the best games with this slate. But yeah, so let me know what you guys think about some of the matchups. What's your favorite matchup that you are looking forward to from this slate here? And another comment from Lil Fettuccini68. He said, "Dang, I'm lucky I live in Seattle. It must be hard to watch games on the East Coast and end like at 12. I'm good. I'll be sleeping by then." Yeah, I mean, listen, it's not a big deal for me because, I mean, with the other stuff that I have going on in my life, I'm going to be up at that time anyways if I'm still at work. And, I'm kind of an insomniac at times, so I'd stay up late. So it's not a big deal for me. But, yeah, so that's the Monday night slate. Again, let me know what you guys think about the games. What are some of the intriguing... What matchups are you most excited for this this upcoming season with this slate. So we're going to take our final break of the show. When we come back, we are going to look at the Eagles' schedule, and I'm going to pull it up. That's not it. There we go. That's not it either. I got to go back the other way. Yeah, this is the first time I'm using like the slideshow feature on the software here. But yeah, that's the Eagles' schedule. So we'll talk about it. I'll give my early win-loss predictions with the Eagles. So that is what we will do when we come back from our final break of the show. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast, and for the final part of the show, we are going to break down the Eagles' 2024 schedule. So, like I said, we're going to go through every single team's schedule. I'll give you my early win-loss predictions. We'll look at some of the matchups from their schedule, well, some of the better matchups from their schedule. But yeah, this is the Eagles' 2024 schedule right here. I also did want to bring up something. I know it's not football related, but the NBA is officially dropping TNT, and NBC is going to be getting the rights to the NBA once again. And I know, make sure to check out the GSMC basketball podcast to get Nelson's take on it. But again, I'm not a huge basketball fan, but I'm definitely a little upset just because of the show with the core four and Ernie Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal, Charles Barkley, and of course Kenny Smith. It's unfortunate that happened. But yeah, so that's some news on the broadcasting rights front when it comes to basketball. But yeah, so check out Nelson's show, get his opinion on it. I'm sure he's going to talk about it at least today, I would imagine. But yeah, let's get into the Eagles' schedule. So yeah, just wanted to bring that up. A little upset about that, but yeah, so let's get into the Eagles' schedule. Like I just said, I've said it like a couple times now. But yeah, this is their schedule. Right off the bat, you got the Brazil game. It's actually an Eagles home game. The Packers and the Eagles. This game could go either way. I think the line opened up as the Eagles being favored by 1.5. Again, this one's tough because this one can go either way. But you know what? I might side with the Packers and give the Packers a win. But you know what? I'm going to give the Eagles a win. So I'm going to say the Eagles win this game. Week 2, they take on Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. This was when Kirk Cousins played the Eagles last time. It was a close game. But I think the Eagles win that game. So 2-0. I'll give them a win there. At the Saints. Again, could be a dicey game. The Saints being at home. I'm going to give the Eagles a win there as well. At the Buccaneers. I think the Eagles are going to get revenge for that playoff loss last year. So I'm going to give the Eagles a win there. Week 6. They take on the Browns. A good defense. You got Deshaun Watson coming in. And hopefully he... for the Browns' sake, he's playing good football at the time. Oh, well, actually, I know Week 5 is not there. That's because the Eagles have a bye in Week 5, so that's why you don't see Week 5 there. Again, you got a good defense. You know what? I'm gonna give the Eagles. Well, I mean, they were coming off of a bye, so yeah, I'm gonna give them a win. I'll give them a win, but that one could be close. So I got the Eagles starting off 5-0. Then they take on the Giants. I think that's a win. I think Saquon Barkley's gonna run all over them. So right now the Eagles are 6-0, but I do think they do get their first loss, and that'll be against the Bengals. So I'm gonna have them take the loss there. So they're 6-1. Then they take on the Jags. I think they get back on track. They win that game. So they're 7-1. I think the Cowboys is a loss. 7-2. I think they win against the Commanders. So they're 8-2. At the Rams, could be dicey. I'm gonna say they lose that game, and I'll say they lose to the Ravens as well. So they're gonna lose back-to-back games because I got to give them some losses. So they got 4 losses on the season. Then they take on the Panthers. I think that's a win. I think the Steelers, that's a win. At the Commanders, I think that's a win. I think they win their final 3 games against their divisional opponents. So what did I have? 4 losses? So, yeah, I think they could win 12, 13 games this year. Around. Which I think will be good enough to win the NFC East. And like I said, well, yeah, I mean, it should be. I mean, the Cowboys went 12-5. So, yeah, I think 12-5, 13-4. That's my prediction for them. Might be, and again, I mean, they went into a free fall last year, but I think this team is better. I mean, they added to the defensive side of the ball. You got Saquon Barkley, 2 new coordinators. I mean, I think this team should be much better and not collapse like they did last year. Lil Fettuccine says, I would like to visit Philadelphia one day. I would really like to try a Philly cheesesteak and roast pork sandwich. I actually did go to Philadelphia because I visited a college over there. Got to see the Rocky statue, and I was with my dad, and we were near Lincoln Financial Field and Citizens Bank Park, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, as a Giant fan, I'm not trying to go there unless it's not my team. I would go and just wear regular street clothes because I would be very nervous going to a Giant game in Philly because I'd be worried for my safety. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I went there, and it was, like I said, it was a good time. I think the best part was seeing the Rocky statue. But yeah, so like I said, I got the Eagles going 12-5, 13-4 from this schedule. I think they finished last year. I think it was 11-6, I believe. But yeah, I just think the team is going to be better this year. And I think they're going to be motivated. They're going to try to, yeah, they finished 11-6. They're going to try to prove that late season collapse was a fluke. But if it's not, well, Nick Sirianni could be losing his job. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think about the Eagles' schedule. Like I said, we're going to try to do this for the foreseeable future. I'll try to go through every single team's schedule, to end off the show. And, yeah, so we're going to start off with the NFC East. So we started with the Eagles today. I'll do the Cowboys tomorrow. And then we'll move on from there with the Giants and the Commanders. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for the show for today. Again, appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, some nice comments from Lil Fettuccine 68. Appreciate the conversation there. Unless you have any final thoughts as my dog starts barking at, I don't know what, the mailman. I really have no idea. But, yeah, so hopefully she eventually stops. We got pretty much to the end, and, she wasn't barking, but then, of course, she decides to bark right at the end of the show, and I'm hoping she eventually stops. All right, I think she's going to stop. All right, so we're good. But yeah, I mean, like I said, we're gonna try to go through each team. You know, I mean, we got a lot of teams. We got 31 teams to go after this. So, but like I said, we're gonna kind of go in the same order like I did with the division. So we'll start off with the NFC East, and then I'll go through, you know, the other divisions. So yeah, tomorrow will be the Cowboys, and then we'll go from there. So, but yeah, like I said, I know I didn't go through a lot of schedule stuff yesterday, but yeah, we're gonna continue to do that. You know, there's some other games that I didn't touch upon. You know, because I mean, these are just the primetime games. You know, so but yeah, I touched upon all of them. We'll go through some of the revenge games. We'll figure stuff out for tomorrow's show. So interesting, Little Fettuccine 68. What's your favorite Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson movie? I mean, to be honest, I don't really have one. I mean, I don't know. That's interesting. That's I mean, I don't think this one is it, but I did like. I mean, I haven't watched it in a while, but I did like the Game Plan. The football movie, that's what it's called, right? Yeah, the Game Plan. Even though I haven't watched it in a while, the Tooth Fairy. No, that's not really it. I don't know. I'm not really a huge fan of his movies. I don't really have a favorite one. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I really don't have one. If you want to talk about what my favorite movie is of all time, interesting take, but The Other Guys, I think, is my favorite movie with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. I think that movie's a classic. But yeah, don't really have a favorite Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson movie. I don't really have it. Sorry if that was not the answer you were looking for, but yeah, I said the Game Plan just because, hey, it's a football movie, and this is the GSMC football podcast. So, but yeah, so that is pretty much it for the show for today. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to check out all the other shows on the Sports Network. We greatly appreciate it. Give those shows some love as well. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. That is all the time that we have for today. Like I said, we'll be back again tomorrow, same time. And until then, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.